especially if someone gets shot, they have to cut the person open to investigate.
Wow.
The Mercedes-Benz Interview Lounge.
So our next guest, Gandhi actually had her on her podcast.
Yes, Sauce on the Side,
Yes.
wherever you get your podcast. Come listen.
And I was fascinated by her, and I was like, oh my gosh. So when we were talking about guests for International Women's Day, we both said, there's no way we cannot have Nicole on the show with us today. So, Gandhi?
Yes, I
tell
like
us
to
about
call
her.
her my friend, Nicole Angemi. She is a pathology assistant, which means she does a lot of really cool stuff, but I don't want to talk about you. I want you to talk about you. Hello, Nicole. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Everyone here is so excited, and people have a lot of questions for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
Wait, can I start with what we were talking about in the green room?
Sure.
Okay. Well, actually, should she explain exactly what she does for a living first?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm a pathologist assistant, and I do autopsies as well as dissection of organs from surgeries.
So the way she explained it to me was anything that comes out of a body, they will kind of analyze it and take a look at it. So that could be a bullet. It could be an implant that came out.
Yes, anything that comes out of a patient that goes to the hospital. So if a kid swallows a quarter, if someone gets something stuck in their rear end, anything we get. People swallow weird things. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
On her Instagram page, sometimes she'll just have this blob of something and she'll go, look what I took out today. Here it is. What do you think it is? And you have to guess what the heck it is. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I've been doing that for almost 10 years now. Mystery diagnosis, I call it. And I do it on Mondays, like Mystery Monday. So I post something and then the next week I'll give a reveal and tell you what it is. But the answers, it's really cool because a lot of people guess it correctly, which is awesome to me. And then other people put really funny stuff on there. So what they guess things, food related items and just really funny things.
Well, I know, but once it goes to the body, it changes. So I guess you have to look, okay, this was once a XYZ. Because ABC happened to.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Those are your smart,
Yeah.
your smart fans.
Yeah, and there's definitely people that follow that are doctors, nurses, so they know more. But some people that are just interested in the field that never got to go to college or anything, they really know their stuff too. It's really cool.
Off the top of your head with Mystery Mondays, which we actually just got a text that said her Mystery Mondays are my favorite.
Oh, that's
My
cool.
wife and I try to figure it out together. Off the top of your head, can you think of one that has just sort of blown your mind?
Well, I did one actually last week. I mean, I always have ones that blow my mind, but the one that I did last week was very controversial, and there was a lot of comments underneath, and it was this woman got IVF and she got pregnant with 3 embryos and went in and found out that she was having triplets, and they advised her to reduce one of the pregnancies down because they think that if you have a triplet pregnancy, it's too much and there's a high risk of losing all of them. So they do suggest that sometimes to terminate one. And I think a lot of people thought that when they did that, they would go in and take one of them out, but they don't. They leave it in there until the pregnancy is done. So when you take out the placenta and you send it to pathology afterwards, she had 2 twins that were born healthy at, I think it was 38 weeks. And then the other one is this little mummified fetus that's kind of attached to the inside of the placenta. So that was, I thought that was really cool. And people didn't really realize that happens. But if you think about it, was terminated at 14 weeks and it just sat in fluid, dead essentially for all those weeks. It just turns into this little mummified thing, and it's really cool, and it's something that we see in pathology, not all the time, but I've seen it multiple times.
Wow.
She sees all kinds of stuff, man.
Man, she was telling us, so we were sitting in the green room and you were saying, yeah, did you hear about all these body parts that are being found in random places, like that finger they found in Walmart? And we were like, how does that happen? And you were explaining that it can happen.
Yeah, it's really cool. The past 3 weeks, there's been all these different news stories. It was they found a leg on the platform in the Bronx at the train station,
that makes sense.
which is just like, okay.
I'm from there.
But then we found out later that was from someone that got hit by a train. So that completely makes sense why there was just a human leg there.
What? How did it get there?
Well, when you get hit by a train, you come to the morgue in multiple pieces in a body bag.
That makes sense.
Oh my gosh.
And so they found a finger in the parking lot at Walmart, and then the medical examiner determined that there was nothing suspicious about it. So then my daughter Maria asked me, well, how do you know that? And then I said, oh, because you could tell that it wasn't traumatically amputated. So if it was with a sharp item like a knife, it looks one way. And if it was, blunt object like a hammer or something knocked it off, it would look another way. But if it was from natural disease, I'm assuming that it was from gangrene. And sometimes there's something called an auto amputation. So your finger can essentially mummify and die off and fall off itself. It's called an auto amputation.
So this person was just shopping at Walmart and then their finger just fell off?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. People of Walmart,
It's kind of weird that they left it. Like, if your finger falls off, you wouldn't pick it up and do something with it or take it home.
I don't know.
You just leave it there and go about
Make
your
a
day.
keychain out
Maybe
of it.
he
Somebody's
didn't
done
know.
that before, yeah.
Elvis, I know you have some questions. You've moved the microphone away from yourself, but I want you to be part of this.
No. Well, no. Okay, so I'm going to go back to you talking about the triplets.
Okay.
Where they had to make a decision on leaving one behind.
Yeah.
You see, what you do for a living, to me, I give you so much. I give you a mountain of credit for being able to take emotion out of it.
Oh, I 100% have
You
no
have
emotion.
to. You
yeah.
have to. I mean, you actually have to put the safety on the trigger of any trigger anything in your life.
Yeah.
Because there are people listening right now going, oh my gosh, well, A, B, and C happened in my life, and I just, wow, how can she go through that? But it's the necessary thing people must go through to save lives.
Yeah, it's
or
weird
to discover how someone did lose their life.
Yeah, when I was pregnant, it was weird because I would be 36 weeks pregnant, and then I'd have to do an autopsy on a fetus that died that was 36 weeks along, and I'd be like sitting here we sat at a desk similar to this, and I'd have like this dead fetus baby in front of me when one's like right in my belly, the same size, like. You have to disconnect.
Is it easy to do the disconnect at this point?
Oh,
You've been
yeah.
doing it 10 years now.
Yeah.
I guess
Wait,
so.
what were you telling us about you're fine eating a cheeseburger over a dead body now or something?
This is crazy.
Well, I was saying that there's two different people that work in pathology. There's the people that wear like the complete moon suit and 10 pairs of gloves and open door handles with paper towels, and then like me, I could just eat a hamburger over a dead body. I don't feel any kind of way about it. I don't skeeve anything.
That's amazing. Danielle skeeves everything.
I said I'm the one with the paper towel on the door handle.
Someone sniffles in a room and Danielle's got to get them out.
But in
them
order
out
to
of
be
here.
effective at what you do, you have to be that way. That's
Yeah.
what makes you great at what you do.
Yeah, I mean, if I was sitting in the corner crying all the time, I couldn't get my job done.
Right,
and
sure.
ultimately, like, especially in cases when like a baby dies or something, you want to give the mom answers. That's like your job. So,
sure.
Aw.
So I'm gonna stop crying every day at work.
Don't cry. So Nicole has a podcast. It's called Mother Knows Death.
Yes.
She also has a website, The Gross Room.
Yes.
Right?
It's thegrossroom.com. Yes.
thegrossroom.com, and it is gross, so before you go there, just know what you're walking into. But some of the things that she does is investigate sort of topical matters at the moment, what's happening in pop culture, with celebrity autopsies, with just things that are trending at the moment. And something that she was talking about is a phenomenon of the Brazilian butt lift. And we don't want to get too dirty about it, but a lot of times, not only are they just putting your own body into your body, but they put other objects in there. And that makes it difficult to remain clean. And she was telling me earlier that this is a rising problem.
What?
So there was this TikTok trend that was going on last week with all these guys saying that women that
We have to be very careful how you say this.
Yes,
Okay.
women that they were having relations with had this procedure done, this BBL. They had stinky butts,
Okay.
Okay.
I would say, and when they do the procedure, I don't think that they typically do implants and silicone injections. That's not what would normally be done in this particular country anyway. They just transfer fat. Usually they'll do like lipo on the hips and on the stomach, and then they transplant it back into the rear end. But it makes it very firm and fills it up. And these women that don't naturally have these rear ends are having a hard time spreading their,
Right, we got you.
you get it. We
Yeah,
don't
but
have
the
to
whole
get
point
too
of that is
graphic. But
natural. It's not natural.
It's not natural. And also just, you have to think your anatomy is kind of set up to handle your own body. And I was telling you, like, after I delivered my daughter and my milk came in and my breast got like really large, it was like hard for me to even like reach around my body at that time, because that's not my normal arm and anatomy and everything. And it's the same could be said there. Like, your arms are made to reach what God gave you, you know?
So be careful when you're putting foreign objects.
Brilliant way. You got through that brilliantly.
I guess I should
they're all
cancel
sitting
mine,
on the
huh?
edge of their seat like, God, what's she going to say?
Awesome.
Well, when I had her on my podcast, it was like free. You can say whatever you want. You can do whatever you want because it's a podcast. But we have to be a little more careful here with what's going on. We're getting a lot of texts asking things like, how long does it typically take to get toxicology results or autopsy results once somebody passes away?
So toxicology takes a little bit longer of a time because there's a backup, because just think of all of the people that die every day. They're doing so much toxicology, especially on people that are overdosing, which is a huge thing right now. Autopsy results. So when we do the autopsy, we have to put out a preliminary report within 24 hours. And that just says, that's just the gross findings. So when we talk about gross, that's what we could see with our eyes, as opposed to microscopic is under the microscope. So if you open someone up and they have a pulmonary embolism, you could say, okay, we saw this. And oftentimes that happens. You see somebody, you open them up and you're like, okay, this is why they died. They're my favorite autopsies, when you just open them and you're like, yeah, that's it, right? But sometimes you just look at everything and either it's 100% normal, or maybe it's like a little weird, but not enough that you could say, okay, that killed them. So that's when the final anatomic diagnosis comes out. And that could be months later, depending, because we have to look at slides under the microscope, toxicology, other tests like microbiology, blood tests, stuff like that. So when that all comes together and then the pathologist looks at all that stuff together, that's when we're able to determine what the final cause of death was.
Wait, if you open somebody up, right, or say somebody dies in a mysterious way, right, and a family member says, yeah, I don't want them to have an autopsy. Legally, do they still have to have an autopsy because they died in a weird, mysterious way, or can they say no?
So that's a good question. So in the hospital, which is where I've done most of my autopsies, the family gets a choice. They say, can you find out, I don't know why my loved one died, can you do it? And then we would say yes or no. And sometimes we would even ask them, hey, could we autopsy this person because they had some interesting medical thing going on? But when it comes to legal autopsies, you really don't have a choice, especially if it's a homicide or some accident or something that's a legal case. There's oftentimes that people go to the medical examiner and ask them, because of religious reasons, like, can you do this on this day so I could get the body back because we have to bury within 24 hours? Or they beg, please, please, please don't cut them. It's against our religion. And the medical examiner tries to accommodate as much as possible, but sometimes, especially if someone gets shot, they have to cut the person open to investigate.
Wow.
This is amazing.
So
Okay.
much.
One of the things in all of this, when Danielle was talking about a suspicious death versus a non-suspicious death, we hear celebrities dying of cardiac arrest all the time. And you said that is a cop-out answer.
Yeah, it
Explain
gets on my
that.
nerves so bad. Because like everybody dies from cardiac arrest and your heart stops. So like that's it. You don't die of cardiac arrest. Like something has to cause your heart to stop, right? And that could be a million things. In Pennsylvania, we did not accept that as a cause of death on the death certificate. Like, the funeral home wouldn't even come pick up a body if it said that. So we would have to track down the doctor, because the doctors do it all the time because it's lazy. We'd have to track them down and be like, no, you need to write the right cause of death on here and whatever. Yeah.
By the way, we are with Nicole Angemi, a pathologist assistant. She has a podcast, Mother Knows Death. You can find her on Instagram at Mrs._Angemi. A lot of people are asking about that. It is Angemi, Mrs._Angemi, and she does have a lot of followers.
And my Instagram was iHeartAutopsy because that was like my beginning thing. But my account got deleted so many times, so now like I'm stuck with my name.
That's probably our fault.
Yeah. Wait, do you ever get flagged? Like, do they ever flag you because you posted
Yes,
something,
every single day of my life.
Oh
I got 5 flagged this week, every single thing I post.
And then what do you do with this flag? You have to
They
take
just
it down?
no, they threaten to take. They want me to take it down, or they just say they're not showing my account to new people.
Oh my
Wow.
God. I mean, happens to the best of us.
It's a constant struggle with these people.
It is. But you're doing really good work, and it's also really fascinating. I mean, I would talk to you about this all day. You told me that you believe a lot of the cardiac arrest stories that we read about celebrities are really drug related. Because
Yeah.
that will stop your heart.
Yeah,
Overdose.
exactly. I mean, there's just so many different things that could happen, and you have to understand, like, celebrities want, even though they want to be in the public eye, they also, like, they're humans, so they get to have their own privacy too, and they don't want to tell everything. Like Kate Middleton, for example, like what's going on there.
Yeah.
What is going on there? What do you think?
A lot of people have a lot of different suspicions.
Well, they said she had abdominal surgery, which to me just implies that they could have cut her open from anywhere and did anything in her pelvic cavity or her abdominal cavity. She could have had something simple as a tummy tuck. I don't think so, because I feel like, why is she need so much recovery time? I think she could possibly have a condition like Crohn's. She's young. And then just seeing that picture of her, if that is her in the car, her face looks a little swollen, like maybe she's on steroids or something. So I'm thinking maybe she has some kind of underlying disease like that. Could be cancer too, but probably not as likely just for her age. But you can't rule anything out, because people her age get cancer too. But
Wait, do you
it's
sit
all
there
speculation.
and stroll on all kinds of pictures and Instagrams and be like, let me try and figure out what's
yeah,
wrong with
all
this
the
person?
time. Yes.
So we actually just got a text message that says, my 15-year-old daughter is interested in this occupation. What advice would you have for her?
Oh, that's a good question. So you can shadow at sometimes to look at autopsies and to go look at, especially like younger people, you might want them to just go into surgical pathology, because it's a little bit less gruesome, because there's not a dead body there. It's just like an organ on a cutting board. But they can call their local pathology at any hospital. Just say, can I have the pathology department? And then ask if a student could go shadow. Because that's how you could really know if people can handle it. Because trust me, I've had people faint on me, like watching me do this.
Oh, I'm sure our very own Scotty B wants to faint even hearing this
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, so I've had people, like nurses, come watch an autopsy and just look white as a ghost, and I'm thinking, like, maybe you should reconsider your
Wow.
career choice.
You started when you were really young.
Yeah, I fell into it though, because when I was in college, there wasn't even the internet really, right? It was 1999 when I started, so it was. I mean, I guess the internet was a thing, but I didn't have it at my house. It was like I would go on, and my mom would be on the phone, and it would kick you off.
Yeah.
Like that back
That
back in
dial.
the day stuff. So yeah, I just fell into it because I started looking under the microscope, and I loved it at school. And then I found that there was a lab in the hospital. Never knew about that. And then I would go there and visit. And then it just kind of fell into place from there. That how I found out about this whole field. I told you my leg story.
Oh, God. Yes. Go ahead.
All right, I'll tell you the story.
I wouldn't tell.
Yes.
I would send her to the podcast and say, "Oh, if you want to know, you have to go to the podcast."
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Come on.
good.
Yeah,
What are we
I
doing
think
here?
so.
Good
Yes,
deal.
it has
Good job.
to. It has to do with
Tease it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just go listen to Gandhi's episode. It has to do with a gangrenous leg and a smell, and
There you go. See?
Yes,
But-
that podcast is Sauce on the Side,
Yeah.
wherever you find your podcast.
I'll take the money later for what I know. How many do you do like a week or a day? How many autopsies?
It depends on what hospital you work at. So the majority of my career, I worked at a teaching institution, and we had you would say like 200 or 250 autopsies a year. So there was like a couple a week. The medical examiner's office does way more every day, because they sometimes when I was there, they would get up to like 15 bodies. This is in Philadelphia anyway. I don't know what happens in New York, but they would get like 15 bodies a day. They don't autopsy every single one of them, though. Sometimes they just do an external exam. So if someone died at home and they don't really know what happened, let's say they'll look at the outside of their body, and if they have a scar, like a sternotomy scar, like they had heart surgery or something, and the patient's physician says, yeah, they had heart problems and stuff, and they're willing to sign the death certificate, then they won't cut that body. It's just really for resources, because it would take a long time to do all of those autopsies.
Wow.
Fascinating. All of it. If you want to hear more about this, because we're getting a lot of texts, where can I hear more? Where can I find her? She has her own podcast, Nicole and Angemi. It's Mother Knows Death. You have your Instagram page at Mrs._Angemi, Angemi. And we love you. And I think all of this is so educational and amazing. Thanks for coming in.
I can
and
sit
joining
here
us.
for
I know.
hours and
Yeah.
listen to you.
Right?
I have to say, I love watching how your mind works. I'm assuming. I think we're seeing a picture of how your mind works. It's very Sherlock Holmes-ish,
Yeah.
but in a, I mean, like the way you look at the big picture, and I think there's a learning point for everyone, no matter what you're doing with your life in whatever business. But saying that you started this 10 years ago, being a woman in your field. Have you seen it change in the last 10 years? Are there a lot of women doing exactly what you're doing now?
Well, I've actually been in pathology for 24 years. Yeah, because I started when I was 19.
Where did I get 10 years?
Well, I started my Instagram 10 years ago.
Oh, well,
There you go. That's
then there was no
But-
life before Instagram. Okay, 20-something years. Talk about how it's changed for women.
So it's interesting because a lot of my mentors in school that are pathologist assistants were men. And now, but then when I was in school for it, I mean, I was in school over 15 years ago for it now, but when I was in school, our whole class was female. So it's
I love that.
Yeah, it's changing to a more female-dominated area. It's pretty interesting. But I mean, I've had issues for sure. Trust me, because like I've had older men be my boss or something like that, and some of them were awesome, and some of them were not awesome.
Wow.
Story of every boss.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah. We have a not awesome. This is awesome.
You have a nice older man here. Hello.
Yes.
Anyway.
You've let us poke at this for a while. Yeah.
Right.
But we love it. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want her, Mother Knows Death is a podcast, Mrs. Angemi on Instagram. And by the way, everything we've been talking about today is posted on the Elvis Duran Show Instagram page. So you can go and get the info there if you didn't catch it when we said it.
The Mercedes-Benz Interview Lounge.